The Elden Ring we knew is about to be gone, and that's a great thing. Elden Ring is about to change dramatically, and I am so excited for it. Each new DLC propels the game into an entirely new experience that always improves upon the game. The DLCs are arguably the best parts of every Fromsoftware game. From Dark Souls 1, with Artorias, Manus, Calamite. Calamite's arguably the worst part about Dark Souls 1, but in theory, very, very cool. Dark Souls 2, you had the Three Kings, and those were just the best parts of Dark Souls 2. You have the underground civilization and the daughters of Manus and the dragon that has a spear embedded into him. He has the poison spear. Next would be Bloodborne, arguably the best Souls game, at least for me. And the DLC, arguably the best DLC of any Souls game. Bloodborne's music transcends the Fromsoftware catalog. Bloodborne's music is different, but it sounds like a real grounded orchestra, where a lot of Fromsoftware's catalog can sound electronic and just kind of, even while hearing some sort of Latin, chant and operatic music, it can sound a little janky. It's very unique art, and it's a slice of the time, and it's great. But Bloodborne transcends all of that and has a range of instruments, and you can just hear the range in the music, and it's on a whole different quality level. Bloodborne transcends everything. The DLC confirms that the areas you've been in are basically stacked vertically on top of each other, which is kind of like a callback to Dark Souls in a way. Dark Souls just had that very vertical level design. You can either go all the way down to New Londo. That's just how they do a lot of their game design. Even Elden Ring, just all the way up to the top of the Earth Tree from the bottom. And yeah, in Bloodborne, they did it to where you find out you're in segmented portions of dreams and planes of reality. And a dream is basically right on top of the city of Yharnam, and then there's another dream on top of that, and then there's a beach on top of that, and it's you see underwater there's the city, and then you see in the sky there's ship masts. And it's confirmed when a character from another area who's above falls down below. Anyway, a little slug guy falls from a higher plane of existence down to the new plane of existence you're on. And just these details are what propels it to be one of the greatest pieces of video game art of all time. The design of these games is just extraordinary, and it's very special, and not many people put this much thought into the creative process, and it's something to really celebrate. And Bloodborne's DLC is really something to celebrate. Then you have the bosses. Oh my god, you have Lady Maria, you have the Orphan of Kaz, you have the big celestial alien boys. I forgot what they were called, but they were creepy and funny and kind of easy. But if you don't kill them, they'll fuck you up. They'll summon a founding rain of stars from Elden Ring, and they'll beat you up. And you have Dark Souls 3, which is also arguably the best next to Bloodborne And then the DLC is arguably the best next to Bloodborne as well. Then in Dark Souls 3 DLC, you go to the, what is it, the Dreg Heap you start at, and that's just like an amassing tidal wave of civilizations just rising and falling throughout the ages. Yeah, the story for it is just very, very cool. Then you have the bosses for it, which are, of course, extremely cool. The first one being the Demon Princes, which I've been thinking about Dark Souls 3 so much just because I want to fight the Demon Princes again. I wish there probably is a mod where you can just load up the boss list and like fight whatever you want. And like, I wish right now I could just press a button and fight the Demon Princes. I don't know how to word it, but at least with the Demon Princes, there is, I guess, just a bit of strategy. And like, depending on which one you kill first, the other one will have like a different form with different moves. And it feels very engaging. Of course, you have Gale. Gale is one of the coolest boss fights in FromSoft. A lot of his moves reminded me of Bloodborne. They look so amazing. Gale is just another pinnacle. Each one better than the last. Next game was Sekiro. Unfortunately, we never got a DLC for Sekiro. Sekiro is, as I keep propelling each next game I speak of to the highest standard, Sekiro is the most satisfying single player experience of all time. It's a must play for any die-hard video game fan. If you really want to hurt yourself and push yourself, you need to play it. And it's okay if you don't want to, because at this point, I don't feel like doing that either, so I get it, like, no. But if there's ever an itch, you gotta scratch that itch. You have to scratch the Sekiro itch. It's arguably the best one of the series. But it's got no DLC, so the only DLC it had, okay, it's got a little DLC. We'll give Sekiro a little spotlight. So Sekiro's DLC, they updated so you can actually do that boss rush that I was just talking about. It's a little different. I haven't fully explored it, but I know you can do basically gauntlets and just do like a set of bosses. Yeah, you can do like a set of 3 bosses, and if you kill them, sometimes you get like a new outfit and things like that. So I guess honestly, yeah, we can also argue that Sekiro's free DLC boosted it into its best point. So checkmate, FromSoft, you win, like always. Next, you have Rock Band, which if they didn't have the DLC, we wouldn't have half the song. Next, you have Armored Core. That doesn't have DLC yet, but that's arguably another perfect FromSoftware game that's better than all the rest. Incredible combat, incredible story, incredible sets, incredible action, incredible weapons, incredible armor. And then finally, Elden Ring. This is the biggest deal. For me in Elden Ring, having played all of those other games and thinking so highly of them all, Elden Ring and its combat fell only a little bit short for me. And I can't wait for the DLC, but once I realized I was just spamming either a lot of spells or spamming a lot of jump attacks, I got a little bored and more frustrated. More frustrated than bored. But I guess they went into each other. I was getting frustrated because of the combat, and then I was getting bored because I think it's just the same thing. And that's at least for someone like me who has played it like way too much, like all of them way too much. Like at first it was really cool when each game was just Dark Souls in a new setting, but even Bloodborne, when it went to a new setting, the combat felt like entirely different, even though it was very similar, and it was one of the best versions of their combat. I was hoping for a little more in the combat field, but what they did was still obviously one of the best games ever. Even if I was still spamming spells, they were the best spells of any FromSoft game in power and in just effects. They have the biggest range of spells, and they're all really good. or at least really cool. I don't know like what's good or what's meta or whatever, but there is still that criticism of it's a little stale. So what is the DLC doing? They're adding 8 new weapon types, and that's just new weapon types. There is going to be an abundance of new movesets in this DLC, and that should get you more excited than Naked Millennia. I don't know. Elden Ring getting all these new movesets basically, like before it even comes out, it already puts it in a new place like Bloodborne. Because all of these stale movesets are getting updated. That was the best part of Bloodborne, was playing Dark Souls with better moves. Just some more engaging moves than your R1 spam. A backstep R1. You can do a crouch attack. There is a lot, but it's about also the flashiness of all of those. Every one of those has to be really cool and viable, or it's just going to fall by the wayside. And this DLC looks like it's got a lot of really, really good movesets, and I am so excited. There's the Milady, and it's gonna have like a lot of thrusts and slashes per attack. Like one R1 is just like a slash slash and things like that. That's the, oh my god, you have the Beast Claws, you have the Great Katana. The Great Katana does like an Ichimonji, and then I think it's Ash of War puts it in a stance to do a Ichimonji triple, which I don't think was in Sekiro. I think you only had up to double, so they're buffing it up by 1. Incredible game design, game of the year again. Oh my god, how did they think of it? They added 1. They added 1 more. How did they think of it? But anyway, all I wanted to say is all the DLCs have always been the best parts of the FromSoft games. And as someone who's played it every year since only Dark Souls 1, I don't think I ever played Demon Souls when it came out, I'm noticing the same pattern, that we are getting those movesets that we have desperately needed, that I've desperately asked for, and that they had to have known that they needed. There was nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong with the movesets in the game. It's just when you've had Bloodborne, you need it again. That's pretty much all it comes down to. What I mean is you need that varied moveset. Basically what I'm trying to say, once you've had Bloodborne, you need extreme combat variety and extremely cool movesets. And Elden Ring has a lot of good moves, but Bloodborne had pretty much a new moveset for every single weapon. And not only did it have a new moveset, it had a second weapon state. You could have an axe and be chopping a tree, and then you can do a weapon state where it's a gigantic axe, two-handed spear, and now you just have these gigantic wide attacks. And it created so much combat variety that we desperately need back. And I'm so excited that it looks like Elden Ring, the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, is finally adding new movesets to this game. The DLC is always the best part of a FromSoft game. It's happened every single time. And I am so excited to see that Elden Ring is probably not going to disappoint by any means. We're adding the one thing we desperately needed, which was more movesets. Better moves. They're coming. I don't know, I just wanted to talk about that real quick.